Welcome back to my channel, ParentsXP, where we help you level up your parenting skills. Today I have a guest. He's a father of 4, a grandfather of 12. He's been a successful entrepreneur, both in Idaho and in Utah, and his name is Roger Koyle.
Thanks for having me here with you.
Definitely. It's great to have you here. And to see you again. We've been friends for about 3 years now, so this is a great surprise to get this interview with you, especially before you move. Do you want to maybe tell us a little about why you're moving and what organization you work for right now?
I do some part-time consulting with the Small Business Development Center, SBDC. We also have a business that we're developing and growing, and so I've been asked to go to Price, Utah to be a director for the SBDC.
So you work for the SBDC part-time, and then you have a couple businesses on the side. Do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about those?
We have one main business that we're developing. It's called Eyes on Us. It comes from the words eyes on us, and we have developed a safety light that attaches magnetically to traffic cones for first responders and police, that kind of thing, fire departments. They're used for landing zones and safety people, road construction, utility companies, and things like that. It's a unique product, patented product, and we have a patent pending on the device that magnetically attaches to a cone, so that the lights can also attach. And so we've got them out there. We were 4 years in the development of that product, and we rolled it out in September of 2019, and everybody knows a few months later they started shutting down all the trade shows. Right. And so we've turned to social media. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook and
IZONUS, right?
IZONUS.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you guys need any kind of safety products, if you're truckers, police, fire, anything like that, look it up. It's a great product. I've done a lot of work with Roger on that product, and we should have brought one in, right? We'll post one right here, okay, in the video, so you can see how they work.
Go check it out, Eyes on Us. EyesOnUs.com, or look us up in your social media.
Definitely. Hey, so you have one business right now. You work at the SBDC. So tell me a little about your childhood, kind of how you got into being an entrepreneur, and some stuff about it, just so our viewers can relate with you, see how you grew up.
Sure. So grew up in a small town in Idaho, Gooding, Idaho. Population is around 3,000, 3,500 people, and grew up on a farm. I'm the youngest of 9. So as the family started to move away, the farm didn't get any smaller, and so in the end of it all, I was running most all of the farm and working with hired help and different things like that. And so, hard work, long hours was not uncommon. And then I went away from the farm for a period of time, and then came back after a couple of years and found out that the farming world had kind of changed. I was going to be a farmer. I went to school the whole time in school thinking, why do I need all this stuff? I'm going to be a farmer.
Yeah.
And then, it kind of evolved, and all these big farmers were buying up all the little farmers. And so I found myself in a position where I was like, farming is not going to work out. I'm going to have to try to figure out something different in life. And so we left the farm. I actually came to Utah, where I met my wife here in Utah, and we were a hit. We went on a date, and after our second date, I asked her to marry me.
That's crazy. It's so fast. Nice. And you've been married for how long now?
Don't ask me that.
You're like
30-something years, right?
Too many, right?
Yeah.
Longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
So how was it growing up on the farm? Like
a lot of work, a lot of long hours.
Was there a lot of fun too? Like you go out and you run through the fields and you play like the Huckleberry Finn, like
we worked hard, played hard, right?
Yeah.
We had time, and we typically went out shooting, and that was we had motorcycles and we went bike riding and things like that, motorbiking and three-wheelers that like tip over and mash you.
Fuck up on them.
Up on you and tip over. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of independence and, just learn to go do the job and stuff. A lot of good experiences on the farm.
You said it was 3,500 people about in your city?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so after your childhood, how did you kind of transition from wanting to be a farmer and having those dreams fail because it was just impossible with bigger farms just prospering? How did you transition into business? What was the thing that made you want to start being a businessman? Where did that spark and that drive come from?
Well, after I came to Utah, I met my wife, we got married, we moved back to the farm to work for a little while, and then moved to Boise, Idaho. And that's where we raised our family and lived there for, I think, 27 years.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. And, but I mean, look, I remember I didn't have, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I ended up working at a car wash during the winter, and it was the kind of car wash where the cars come out and you wipe them down and clean them, and did a lot of that by hand. Just trying to get a job, and then I ended up getting a job with Micron Technology, and had a 5-year career with them, and had a great career with them, great company, and after 5 years, I just kind of
got burned out.
I just felt that urge to be independent again, and so that independent bug kind of pushed me out, and so I left Micron Technology and went into real estate, sold real estate for 4 years, and then went back into the corporate world for another 4 or 5 years, and then left that again and went back into the business world, the entrepreneurial world, and so I found myself sort of trapped. And so for 2 plus years, I was just kind of wandering around in the mortgage world, in going from business to business and office to office, and trying to figure out, something's got to make this better. Yeah. And meanwhile, my household, my family life was kind of deteriorating, and the house is falling apart. And I just wasn't making enough money to support us, and so everything could change for me in a 1 week period. And I made a decision to change me, and kind of grew up. And in the very industry that I hated for 2 years, I fell in love with it. And just in a matter of weeks, everything financially changed. And so after 3 months, I decided to start my own mortgage company, and that's started the beginning of Home Source Mortgage. And 5 years later, it had grown to be the largest mortgage company in the state.
In Idaho? Oh, wow.
In Idaho.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to do that, but I had a friend that asked me to help a friend become a loan officer, and that was my first guy that I ever hired, and so I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it for you as a favor. And then another buddy came in and wanted to be a loan officer, then a brother came in, and then it just grew, and I had some really, really great people that I was surrounded by. And so financially, everything completely changed in our world. And one of the best memories that came out of that is after 13 years of living in that little small home, we were out looking for houses now, for another home. And we had taken our kids with us to go see those houses and things. And they didn't know, but we bought one of those houses that they really liked. And so one night, it was dark, Christmas time, we took the kids to that house, and we said, hey, the house is sold, but the real estate agent gave us a key because we knew you guys really liked it. They wanted to see it one last time, and so the realtor gave us a key that we could open up the house and have you take a look at it. And when we walked in the front door, there was a Christmas tree and a big banner that had "Welcome Home, Koyle Kids." and they went crazy.
Yeah. Did they pick it up right away, or did it take them a minute?
Away, yeah. And they went running through the house, and
claiming rooms.
My wife and I were crying. It was just a neat experience to be able to do that. And so anyway, that was a cool thing.
Do you think going through the transition of businesses affected your kids in a lot of ways?
Yeah. So when we had the 2 companies, and then I decided to do a third one, and so I started a day spa. Started down the avenue of a day spa, high-end day spa, very large, 7,500 square foot. Don't do that. Put way too much money into the developing of that and opening it up. Took us way longer than we had anticipated, but we ended up between the 3 different companies having 100 employees. And I say we, that's my wife and I. And so she did a great job with raising the kids. Unfortunately, I probably paid a price for that. I was a lot of work. I was at work an awful lot of time and away from the family, and so I missed a lot of the things that I would have liked to. If I had it to do over again, knowing what I know now that I didn't know then, I would definitely change some stuff.
Would you still pursue being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So how in what ways did it affect your kids? So like you were absent a lot, right? Was it just staying up late working? Was it you had to be at the business working with clients? Like what was it that pulled you
all
away?
Consuming and always there, right? And so running the 2 different big companies, the real estate wasn't a terrible lot. We that was weekends and some stuff that we had to do some maintenance on, but the day spa and the mortgage company, so we were there until 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes just cleaning and getting it ready for the next day and things like that. And so 7 in the morning until 2 at night, or 2 in the next morning, and back at it again the next day and stuff. And so if I knew then, but like I knew now, I would have probably never done the spa. We'd have been satisfied with what we had, and we would have went on trips. Right? If I could do it now,
spend the money from the spa and family.
Yeah, we would have taken our kids and had more experiences with them.
Yeah. Okay.
Taking them on adventures.
Is it just that you were too ambitious and you wanted to keep going for more, and that's ultimately what pulled you away from what you really wanted, to spend time with your family and do those things that were important to you? Yeah.
So just to be clear, we've got great kids. Our kids turned out really good, despite me. Right? My wife did a great job with the kids, and she's a great mom and a great wife and a great grandma. And so she's done a really good job with that. She kudos to her. I just kept thinking that there was going to become a time where I could step away from all this. And then, of course, that didn't really happen. Sometimes this is just the experiences of life. 2008 came in, 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11.
And you own one of the biggest mortgage companies.
Boise was one of the top hit in the nation, and we were the epicenter of all that. So we found ourselves spiraling down another path to try to deal with that whole fallout. And so, I mean, my best advice that people would be enjoy the moment. Don't forget to do that. There is no reset button.
You only get one shot.
You only get one shot.
Exactly.
So I would love to, I'd love to have this conversation with somebody else and about that.
You don't need to. You got all the viewers, right? Yeah. You're having it with everyone.
Think about it. Do you really need to do that next big business, right?
So what was your goal? Was it to build a big business and then retire early and spend your time with your kids?
That was the plan.
Because I think that's what a lot of at least younger male entrepreneurs, myself, I had that aspiration at a time, and then I realized working at Johnny Rockets the way I did, I don't want to put in those 60 to 80 hour weeks, because what's the point of living a life and making a lot of money if you're miserable, right?
Yeah.
So you were going to pull back. It didn't work out. Do you think had it worked out, you would have the life you wanted now, and you would still look back on those situations with regret, even though you weren't going to be there at the time?
Well, you know, I mean, our kids were young, and you know, on the kind of the timeline, we were probably going to exit things in and around 2010.
Okay.
And of course, that didn't work out the way we had hoped.
2 years
for a lot of people, right? Throughout the nation, there's a lot of people listening, and your audience have probably experienced that and got impacted by it. But it, yeah. So that was our game plan. You know, we were be able to exit those businesses and then go travel, and do the things with the kids and the family, and you know, it's there's no crystal ball. You know, we can look in and see what it's going to do in the future and things like that. And so, you know, spend some time, and if you got the money to go do some things with your family, go do some things with your family. Yeah.
So, looking back on it now, do you feel that you remember more experiences with your family or more experiences with your business? Okay. Which one?
Unfortunately.
I'm pretty sure we all know the answer to this next question. Which one do you feel are more precious memories? You know, all the memories you had with your business, or, you know, a good chunk of the memories you've had with your family?
Well, my family is precious to me. And my kids I love, right? And my grandkids. But the majority of my memories was working hard to try to support them and make sure that they were covered. And I felt that burden. And then once I got beyond that, then it was more. I wanted more. I wanted to be sure that we never went back to where we were.
The grind.
I wanted to be able to take care of them in a way that I wanted to take care of them for forever, right? As long as we were around. And so, and you know, I love the challenge of entrepreneurship. I love the thrill of building something and stuff. And so, I didn't need to build a day spa. I didn't need to have another, 40 employees. To do that, I didn't need to. Looking back on it, at the time, I thought I did. So.
What are some signs that you see now that you didn't see then, that some of the viewers might be able to be like, that makes sense? Like, I am pushing it too hard. I can see that from this perspective. But, were there any cues? Were there any points where you're like, this really isn't working out and I've kind of messed up, I want to go back a little bit? Like, is there anything specific that people can relate to, they can see and look out for?
I don't think there's anything wrong with hard work. But I do think that there is a balance. I think sometimes people have too much money, and that kind of messes things up too. And so I think it's good for, I think it was good for my kids to see the hard work and the ethics that went behind that, and what we did, and the reasons that we wanted to achieve all that, So I think at the time, probably the kids maybe didn't, really recognize it. I think now that we talk about it and stuff, we talk about, I wish we could have gone on more trips.
Okay.
We ended up taking one trip to Seattle, and
as younger, like.
Yeah, so I mean, this is when the kids were young. We did take one trip to Seattle, and it was just so stressful because I felt like I needed to be back home with the business. And that's the one wish that I wish I could just learn to shut that off. If you can ever figure that out as your audience, right? Learn how to shut that part of it off and enjoy the journey. And I don't mean the journey of the business, but the journey of raising the family. Because that's what this is all about, right?
Exactly. You get one shot per kid, and you only get those kids
Yeah.
for 18, 20 years, and then you got the rest of your life to do whatever, right?
Yeah. I'm very grateful that our kids, you know, have turned out well, and we haven't had a lot of challenges with them to deal with, and some people do, and it's hard on. I wouldn't want to trade positions with them at all.
Have any of your kids pursued entrepreneurship?
Not a chance.
Did you talk them out of it?
Not a chance.
No, they reflected their life as children and said they didn't want that.
I'd love for them to be entrepreneurs, but I'm not a farmer and they're not entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, so they, I don't think they want to ever do what I did, and that's just fine by me.
So the whole time you're an entrepreneur and your kids are younger, is your wife working at all?
There was a period of time during when I was in the mortgage industry, not making any money, and during that 1 week period that I had mentioned, you know, one of the things that I had to that caused me to shift. It broke my heart because she wanted to be a mom and be at home with the kids. That was her choice. But I had to go ask her if she would be willing to take a job because I, for whatever reason, I couldn't get my head wrapped around making enough money in the mortgage industry at the time. And that was one of the 4 or 5 things that happened during that 1 week period that changed everything for me. That was one of the things that was really hard for me, and it kind of woke me up and made me kind of shift.
Was it, and now when she finally got a job, how old were the kids at this point?
Yeah, they're probably, they're all going into school and things. And so she was able to take a job for a period of time, but it wasn't long after that we didn't need that income anymore. You know, so she was able to come back and kind of be there when they got back from school and things like that. Now,
when she took a job, did you have to start helping out around the house more?
I like to say yes, but I was running, you know, a lot of these companies, right? So I was pretty much involved in business. And I would come home late and things, and so we would sometimes do stuff on the weekends and outdoor things and yard stuff and things like that.
Did that affect your relationship with her or your kids through that transition?
Nope. I don't think it did at all.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I can't speak that that's going to be the same for everybody.
Yeah.
I was just, you know, blessed with a spouse that
can support
chose to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
definitely. There was a story you had told me, you know, and I found a lot of power in this story about what was it you said? Just do it. Was it? No, it wasn't the Nike thing, because that's Nike's just do it. But there was a story when you decided you just had to start showing up early, and you just had to do you mind sharing that story with everyone? I just found a lot of power in that story. I've enjoyed it. I've reflected on it several times since.
You're talking about the change. You're talking about
that week, that change?
Yeah.
When there was just that, you saw the other people moving their stacks, right?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were, everything was falling apart. The house was falling apart. The little 1,000 square foot home that we could, I could even make enough money to keep it up. And in fact, we had gone the winter before, that winter before all this, our furnace went out. And so we didn't have the money to put a new furnace in and get it repaired. So we bought a kerosene heater and put it in the middle of our living room and put blankets around to block off the hallway and the kitchen, and that's how we kept warm. And then at night we'd throw the kids down on lots of blankets and
in the living room,
in their bedrooms and stuff, because it was just cold. And anyway, so that's how we survived the winter, and that's where I found myself, right? And I'm not proud of it. That's just kind of, sometimes we get into a funk, and I was in a funk. And so I decided that, when I'm in the mortgage industry here and not making any money, and so what happened is I came in on a Monday, and as was normal at that time, I'd show up at the crack of 11,
Mm-hmm.
and
Nice
then
and
I'd
early.
sit there at my cubicle wondering, what can I do to go make a living,
Yeah.
and not even giving any credence to where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
Because for 2 years I could never originate more than 2 loans in a month. I was always too worried about the process of it closing, and I was always mad at the processors for losing documents and causing the deal to be a problem. And so I always babysat those loans, and then once it closed, I was out of business and had no other income, so I had to go out and find other. So I was just never consistent and never made any real money. And so on a Monday morning, I'm sitting there with my head in my hands at my cubicle, and in walked Susie Boyle, and she had a stack of loans, and she walks into her desk and she sits these loans down on her desk, and I immediately went and talked to the head processor, and I said, can you answer me a question? Why does Susie Boyle, the #1 loan originator in the state of Idaho, why does she have to take her loans home and work on them all weekend when she has 4 dedicated processors to do that work? And she says, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you mean those loans on her desk? Yeah. She said, well, Roger, those were new loan applications that she took over the weekend.
How many does she have in that stack, you think?
She had more money on that desk than I had made in 2 years.
Wow. One weekend she made
In
that
one
much.
weekend. And so that's when it hit me. And so I went back to my desk and I sat down, and I was just shocked by that.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know that could be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remembered this movie that I'd watched with Alex Baldwin and can't remember, but they were being chased by a bear.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, this guy, I can't think of his name right now, but he was a billionaire, and they crashed in the mountains, and he was a smart guy, and this bear was chasing him, and they were exhausted. He didn't have any weapons, and so he was whittling a stick with his little pocket knife.
Mm-hmm.
And the Baldwin guy said, what are you doing? You can't kill that bear with a stick. And he said, well, actually, this is how the bears used to be killed by the Indians. This is how they killed the bears.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if one man could do it, another man could do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he made Baldwin say that.
Mm-hmm. If
If
one man can do it.
can, another man can. Mm-hmm. And I remember that movie, and I remember thinking, if Susie can do that, so can I.
Yeah.
Right? And so I started thinking differently about the possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like the first thing of that week. And let me just back up.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this is actually the first thing that happened that caused me to start really wondering is we lost the transmission on our last car, and I had to call my mom and dad for help. And so they came.
Mm-hmm.
I was embarrassed, and they came graciously. They let me borrow a car, and so that was kind of the beginning of this week. And then next Monday, Susie shows up, and this happens. And so Susie was probably the second thing in that whole transition of what happened. And then I went home and asked my wife to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
That was really hard. It was about day 6 of this week. I was walking home. I was getting ready to go home, and a guy handed me a book, one of the managers, and he said, "Roger, will you read this book?" And I grabbed the book, and he wouldn't let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "I'll read the book." He says, "I want you to commit to me that you'll read this book."
Mm-hmm.
"I'll read the book."
Mm-hmm.
And I took that book from him, and I got in the car and started home, and it was raining like crazy. And I turned on the radio, and I heard a song come on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like the next thing that happened. And so I don't normally hear the words to the music.
Mm-hmm.
I heard every word of this song.
What song was
And
it?
it was It was by Leanne Womack, and it's I Hope You Dance.
Oh yeah, it's a good song.
Great song. And the words of that song just hit me. And it was raining outside, and it was raining inside. I mean, it was a mess, right? But but that book or that song, it opened up my soul.
Yeah.
And so I went home that night, and I opened up that book, and I read that book, and it beat me up big time, and it really slapped me around. And
it's a relatively short book too, right?
Short book.
Yeah.
Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah, it's a great book.
Great book. Doesn't affect everybody the same way.
It doesn't.
But it was the message I needed to hear right then. And that night, everything changed. Next morning at 7 o'clock, I'm shaking the doors off to get into work. And I went into the supervisor, the manager, and I said, listen, I'm going to originate 10 loans this month. I have no clue how, but I'm going to originate 10 loans. And he laughed because I'd never originated more than 2. I said, I'm going to originate 10. But I will never answer you if you ask me what my closing goals are, because I don't care anymore. My job is to originate. Your job is to close. And that month I originated 13 loans.
And 2 is the most you've ever done.
And 2 is the most I'd ever done.
Jeez.
So the next month I said I'm going to originate 15. I originated 18. The next month I said I'm going to originate 20. I originated 22. The next month I started home social mortgage. Wow. And so if you look at my income, it just
skyrocket, exponential growth, right? Man.
Yeah.
And were you able to like portray any of these? Did your kids pick up on any of this kind of stuff? Like, do they have moments like that? Have you guided them through these kinds of same processes?
I didn't know I was going through this thing, right? I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what had taken place, and everybody always asked me what happened. I mean, did you guys go to a big marketing campaign?
Just go. That's what you said before, right?
I had no money to do a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
I just showed up. I was ready. My attitude changed. The phone rang. I answered it, and the rest is history, right? It just kept growing, and I don't think I knew really what had happened, and I certainly couldn't tell my kids. Things just changed dramatically.
Here's a good question on that. Do you feel perhaps some of the change was just your ability to accept the role more? Personally, that's been a big struggle for me in the past, was my role of being the stay-at-home father. I really resisted it. I looked at everything that was going wrong. It was always other people's fault. And then eventually I said, it's my job to wake up and do the dishes and do the laundry and take care of the kids and feed them and clothe them and everything. And it wasn't until I accepted that role that I started really owning the responsibilities and being happy and content with my life. Is that perhaps... No?
I knew what my role was. I knew I was the income earner in our family.
But within your job even.
Yeah, I just knew it. But I was failing miserably at it. And so when this change took place, it was a change in me. Right? It was an attitude, it was a commitment, it was a completely different outlook. I hated being in the mortgage industry on Friday. And on Monday, I loved being in the mortgage industry, right? It was that much of a change. It changed everything. I knew that if I originated 10 loans and half of them fell out, I would still have doubled my income. Yeah. Which would solve all my problems. Yeah. And that's all I worried about. Nice. I didn't worry about the closing anymore. I didn't worry about the processors. I only worried about hitting that goal of originating loans. And I knew that if I did that, everything else would be taken care of. Nice. So we didn't talk about it, as a family, because we didn't really know what was happening and stuff. But it was a cool experience.
And do you think, I don't know, is there a different way before and after that you felt towards your family as well, or is it kind of like you were still the same person at home? It's just who you were at the office changed.
I had a different attitude, a much brighter attitude when I was around my kids.
Oh, okay.
I was busy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't down on my luck.
Yeah.
I wasn't, woes is me type of a thing, which I think was very detrimental and could have been, if it had been long term, it could have been very detrimental to our family. And so I was able to change that and be much more positive and around my kids and different things like that.
Nice. Okay. So you're
Even though
happy
I
at
was
work,
busy
you're
and I
happy
was
at home.
gone,
Yeah.
when I was there, and it was a better experience when I was.
Nice. Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that story from a long time ago when we were hiking. You were telling me the story, and you're just like, just go, I think is what you said. Just go. And I'm like, okay, just go. And,
Yeah.
you know, you just got to get out there and start moving. And it's scary and it's hard. But once you do it and you get that momentum, it's really about momentum, at least in my life.
Yeah.
I need that momentum to keep going, because when I take long breaks, I mean, when you stop working out, just going to the gym once is a task. But when you've gone to the gym every single day or 3 days every single week for 5 weeks, it's easy to go that next time, you know?
Yeah.
So if there's a lot of struggles with being an entrepreneur and having kids, now what are some of the positives? What are some of the benefits that people might experience, that they could expect to experience being an entrepreneur with kids?
Everybody's different, you know. So some families, they follow in their parents' footsteps and their parents' footsteps and their parents' footsteps and do the same thing because they work with them, they do things with them, and so everybody's a little bit different. Wasn't that way really in my upbringing. Even though I worked on the farm, I didn't really work with my dad on the farm. He worked on the other side of the 1,000 acres, right?
1,000 acres?
Yeah. So,
holy cow.
so you know, it was we worked hard.
Yeah.
And with me growing up with my kids and everything and raising them, we didn't bring them to work a lot and stuff, and they helped some of the building of the spa, and
Your kids did?
there were times that what's that?
Your kids helped with building the spa?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
they
cool.
were there at different parts of building the spas because we being the contractors of the spa and built it all out, and so they were there doing some of that kind of work and things. But for the most part, they weren't around what I was doing on a day-to-day basis.
Is there anything you were bringing back with you? And I know it's hard to get the perspective because you grew, I mean, you know, your life, you've been an entrepreneur, so it's hard to see, okay, if I was a farmer, I would have talked to my kids this way, but is there something you feel that you got specifically from being an entrepreneur that you brought back home with you? And it might be a hard question
I don't
to
know.
answer.
I think our kids are well adjusted because they saw hard work and commitment and sacrifice and those things. They also know the struggle, right? They know what it's like to struggle and not have and everything given to them that they want, right? So they're pretty well adjusted kids, and but I don't know if maybe inherently I didn't want them to go through what I didn't want to put the pressure on my kids to be entrepreneurs.
Okay, yeah.
Business owners and things like that. I just wanted them to carve out their own niche in life. I didn't push them to go to college.
Oh, that's good.
Or anything like that. I want them to kind of sort it out themselves, and they've done a good job of it.
So in conventional standards,
they're great parents.
All 4 of them would be successful, would you say, in conventional standards?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah.
My 3 daughters are able to be at home as is their wish. That could change for any one of them at any given time.
Yeah.
And they're all willing to go out and work if necessary. But they're moms, and they're able to be at home and support their husband, and that's the tradition that they wanted to have in their life. And it's not for everybody, but
so they followed more after your wife than after you.
Yeah. And so they managed to find husbands that support that.
Yeah, good for them. Are their husbands entrepreneurs?
They didn't go out looking for entrepreneurs and business owners, I guess.
None of their husbands are entrepreneurs then? That'd be funny, right?
Not so much.
Okay.
Yeah, not so much. They got just an inkling in it, and one in particular has a little bit more than the others. But I told them, don't quit your day job a while back. And so.
Now, you've always been a pretty highly motivated person, right? Is there anything you did around your house to support that kind of motivation or like good attitude within your kids? For example, I have little sayings posted all over my house, little things like failing to plan is planning to fail, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, we went through a period of time where we did a lot more of that, where we had pictures of homes and things like in our little 1,000 square foot home, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had dream boards and different things
out in public,
yeah,
in shared spaces. Okay.
Yeah, I still think the Chrysler 300 concept car should be built. Chrysler.
If you're listening, right? The Chrysler 300. Isn't that a car?
Yeah,
that is the thing, right?
It's a concept car. They never built it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, is that
on car? They could build that today, and that thing would be a seller.
Yeah. No,
it's Chrysler 300.
Was that on your dream board?
Oh yeah.
Did you and your kids build your dream board together? Was it something you and your wife did? Is it something you did?
No, I think it was just mostly me and my wife. You know?
Oh, okay. But did they stop and look at it a lot and stuff?
My wife and I used to, take the kids out, and we'd go through houses and different things like that. We'd drive around car lots and things.
Mm-hmm.
We came across on a car lot, they had a car parked in a showroom
mm-hmm.
through the glass window on a tilt,
mm-hmm.
and it was a Plymouth Prowler.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Plymouth Prowler.
I'm not familiar with that car.
Really cool.
Plymouth hasn't been a thing for a while, right?
So they built they built those from 1998 to 2002.
Okay.
And I remember seeing that car and thought that was the coolest
Plymouth?
car that was ever built. And I just thought one day I'm going to have the Plymouth Prowler. So.
Have you ever had one?
Yeah. And that was fun, and we were able to take the kids and go for fun rides with that.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff.
So you have.
But yeah, we had they knew about the dream. They knew about
mm-hmm.
the goals, and we weren't doing this on accident.
Mm-hmm. Have some of those values distilled into your kids now? Do you think?
Well, I'm certain that it has,
mm-hmm.
But not in the sense of being entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. But like just the motivation, the desire to go and do more and be more, that has rubbed off on your kids then?
They have achieved, good levels of success.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Their spouses, and
yeah.
they're in good shape. But they've definitely, their families are the priority.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to go to the games, and they're doing
mm-hmm.
the things
that you wish you would have
that
done.
I wish we could
yeah.
done more of, and I'm proud of them for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking their kids to dance, and
mm-hmm.
they're I wrestled in high school, and one of my grandchildren he's a wrestler,
mm-hmm.
and actually a couple of them are now starting to do it, and so they're able to go and take videos of that and send us pictures
mm-hmm.
of it and stuff.
Yeah, that's really neat. So outside of the dream board, did you have conversations, like powerful conversations with your kids?
Yeah.
Where would you have these conversations, like at the dinner table, at bedtime?
Well,
what were some of the
they'd
routines?
hear, Mom and I talking, and we'd talk about, that life is, it's sometimes just a temporary situation,
mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you. My daughter recently sent us a message. She said, "My greatest memories of my childhood
mm-hmm.
are in that little 1,000 square foot home
mm-hmm.
with a backyard that didn't have any grass in it, and we just played in the dirt."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's her favorite memories.
Simple times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
don't overthink it,
don't
right?
overdo it if you don't have the means to overdo it.
Yeah. Just because it seems, and that's one thing I've noticed with kids, is like you get them these elaborate toys and they play with the box.
Yeah,
and it's like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, they're saying that again. I don't care about that. Sure, the box is fun, but I'd rather have the toy. But as an adult, you're like, no, really, the box is fine. They love the box, right? It's just keep it super simple,
Yeah. Yeah, we're the ones that get all wound up, right?
Yes, because we impose our adult brains on what the children would like, and we're much more complicated than they are. Yeah. So how else did you help foster this kind of self-love and growth environment in your kids?
Well, we spent time together because
mm-hmm.
we were in a little 1,000 square foot home,
mm-hmm.
and so we were always on top of each other, and we got to know each other.
mm-hmm.
We did stuff. We danced and we had fun, and it was stressful, but even at some point, I didn't realize that, we were in a bad shape. We just, even when the furnace broke and stuff, it was more of, this is a cool experience,
Yeah.
And so, but after a while, when things get really bad and you hit rock bottom, sometimes you start to reflect differently on things. And so I'm grateful that we were able to experience the hard times and get through it, and have that as a memory.
Yeah.
And it's a memory they'll never forget, right? The kids will never forget that they're grounded there, and so they're gonna be good. They'll have to teach that to their kids. The kids are not grown up in a 1,000 square foot home.
Yeah, their homes are probably much bigger, right?
They're a lot better off.
As are my kids from my house as a child.
Yeah.
So how is it having grandkids now? Like, did it just make all the struggles of having kids worth it to have grandkids?
I don't know if I put it that way. I mean, I love my grandkids and they're stuff, but we wish we could be closer, so that they could be around them, be around us more, and we could be around them, and we could go and do some stuff. But we love to go and visit with them, and I think it's important that we learn from other people, and sometimes people will watch a thing like this, and it might cause them to stop and think. Maybe we're okay where we're at. We don't necessarily need that next big thing.
Yeah, it's okay to struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
Or you also don't want to overextend and overreach, and then fall even farther than you are right now because you've reached out too far, right? Yeah. Now, how did you have a lot of good conversations with your wife about all this stuff? Because that's one thing I struggle with a little bit, is having really in-depth conversations with my wife about what we're doing. We kind of butt heads on ideas and stuff sometimes. You guys seem to really click well, but did you guys structure so you talked about things before you made decisions? Who was the main decision maker in business and in the home?
I mean, I'm pretty strong-willed, and kind of, it's not that I don't care what she has to say. I do.
Yeah.
But she knows that I know the direction for us to go as a family, right?
Okay.
And so she supported me as being the breadwinner or the not breadwinner, right? If things were tough and tight, she still supported me. Never made it ever feel like I wasn't doing a good job of bringing home the bacon.
And do you think that's one big factor in your success?
I think
you could have done it without that?
I think it's a miracle in my success.
Oh, okay. Nice. So it's really good you had her.
That she was okay wherever we were.
Nice. Yeah. It's very
and,
fortunate.
And I think that's probably extremely rare. But I was blessed with it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. So she's always been good with wherever we were at.
Nice. That's incredible.
Just don't mess with the family.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's all she wants. It's just a nice, simple family,
as long as the family's okay and the kids are okay and they're healthy, that's all that matters to her.
That's incredible. Not materialistic or anything. Wow.
Yeah. No. Yeah. She doesn't care if I live in a 1,000 square foot home or a 10,000 square foot home.
Yeah. That would be really incredible to I don't know, have that dynamic in a relationship where it's just always you can do exactly what you want and I support you,
Yeah, no, I get it. Not everybody's got that. I understand that.
Yeah.
That just is what worked for us. We're opposites, right? She's very laid back and you know, I'm very driven.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we look around and we see, you know, people that have been fortunate in business and in life financially or whatever. We were fortunate in life with kids.
Yes.
And good kids and a good wife, and I recognize that that's a blessing that we were blessed with.
You can be wealthy but not rich, right?
Yeah. And I don't take that lightly. I'm just thankful for what we have, and I recognize that we have that. Whereas other people have their other struggles and challenges, and there's, you know, that doesn't mean we don't have ours and in other things, but the, you know, raising the kids and, you know, the house and stuff, it's always been pretty solid for us. Thank heavens.
Like Tony Robbins says, life happens for you, not to you. I really like that saying. And it applies well, you know. Everything happened for you.
Yeah, somebody just brought that up the other day. We were having a conversation, you know, because we were having a discussion about how life can turn on you and have challenges and things. And they mentioned that same thing.
The same quote.
Is life happening for you, or is that life happening to you?
Because if it happens to you, it's for a reason, right? Even if you can't see it right now. Yeah. Well, if you could go back in time before you had kids and give yourself one piece of advice as a parent, what would it be?
Before I had kids?
Before you had kids. You're telling yourself before kids something.
Before kids.
Or if you just have one piece of advice about being a parent.
I think the one bit of advice that, you know, I would always tell people is, you can't take your house with you when you go, but you're going to take your memories with you. And you're going to have those experiences and things, right? I think that kids would rather be properly raised as a family and have a good culture as a family and be able to have experiences as a family. I think they'd rather have that more than they would rather fight over a dynasty 60 or 70 years later.
Yes. Who gets all the money, who gets all the houses, who gets all the cars.
Yeah.
They just want the memories, right? Yeah. Solid. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everybody, and tune in next time. We're going to have a great guest on next show as well, so stick around, hit that like button and thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.